A member of the leadership of the House is entitled to participate in the proceedings of the committee during the consideration of nominee for appointment. So are we attending or in attendance?
You quoted order 2177.
Yeah, 2177, but I've been guided by my leader, Mr. Speaker, so I withdraw that.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to also place it on record that I'm a member of the Appointments Committee and I was present on that day. My name doesn't appear on members who were in the chamber, and it doesn't appear on the Appointments Committee either. So I seek your guidance for this. So I call on the table office to correct it. Thank you.
Which page are you talking about? Page 19?
Sorry.
Page 19.
No, 12.
Page 12.
Yes.
Page 12 captures the
12 and 19.
names of the nominees, the minister designates, and page 19, those in attendance. That's item 2, and your name is VIII.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm making reference to page 12.
Page 12.
Yes. Members present.
Oh, you're taking us back to page 12.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes, table office, kindly take note of that. That is at page 12. That's the Monday, 27th January 2025 meeting of the Appointments Committee. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, please can I take you back to page 7? Item 26. I was present but marked absent.
You are?
I was present. Albert Nyakote. Item 26.
Nyakote Albert Tete.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yilo Krobo.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Table office kindly take note. Page 20. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On page 19, under 3 in attendance, VII, it should read Mrs. Abena Osei Asari, not Miss. Thank you.
Is she present? I want to know whether she's present, so I'll be sure whether she writes Miss or Mrs.
Mr. Speaker, it's always been Mrs.
But you didn't object to it? Or it meant that you were not focused on it?
I guess.
Table office kindly capture the correct rendition. The title is Mrs. Page 20, page 21, page 22. Yes, please.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Page 22, item numbered LXVIII. Mr. Kojo Jekedaku, Member, Elections Directorate, National Democratic Congress. His Kojo is spelled K-W-A-D-W-O, not K-O-J-O. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
So his is Kwajo. Table office, kindly take note of that. Page 23. Page 24. Page 25. Page 25, yes.
Right Honourable Speaker, on page 25, I remember on that day I was part of the committee. I had the opportunity to even ask Honourable Mutala some questions, but I've realized that my name doesn't show as appearing. And so if the table office can correct that for me. My name is John Darko.
Yes, table office, kindly take note. Page 26, page 27, page 28. Honourable members, the votes and proceedings of the 10th sitting dated Friday, 31st January 2025, as corrected, is adopted as a true record of proceedings. I'm sure you now have copies of the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 30th January 2025. Very short one, page 1. Page 2, page 3. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Please, we don't have, for me, okay, at my end, I can't find it on the system, and then we don't also have a hard copy. That's the Thursday.
You can't find your name.
No, we don't have it in the system, the computer, or it's not available for us to use.
It's not the votes and proceedings of
The Thursday.
no. Well, then we'll leave that until the right time when members have copies. So, honourable members, let's take the official report of Friday, 24th January 2025. Any corrections? Honourable members, in the absence of any correction, the official report of Friday, 24th January 2025 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honourable members, we move to item 7, statements. I have an indication from the leadership of the House that the minority leader will be making a statement. and I think this is the appropriate time for him to make the statement before we move to your statements. So please, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this treasure space to make this statement before you and my colleagues. Mr. Speaker, as captured in the vote and proceedings of Friday, the 31st of January, paragraph 5 and page 7, you had cause to deliver a formal communication. With communication, you outline your displeasure on matters at the appointment committee on the evening of Thursday, the 30th of January, and the morning of Friday, the 31st of January. Mr. Speaker, indeed, your response to the events as a leader and the head of this assembly was indeed timely to assure the public that indeed this House is ready to uphold democracy and to do what is right in the eyes of the public. That notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, I had ferried to your office a memo dated the 3rd of February 2025 where I raised some procedural concerns regarding the outcome of your communication. Mr. Speaker, to couch the matters that arose in proper perspective, on the said day, the Thursday, the 30th of January, as per the practice, we had agreed to proceed to vet some 4 nominees. Originally, we were supposed to do 3. This 4 later changed to 5. Around about 10 p.m. of the evening, we had indications from our colleagues in the majority that they intend to continue the vetting for more nominees rather than agreed. Mr. Speaker, on the corridors of the vetting room were many people, including nominees. Our understanding was that they had all been invited. Mr. Speaker, there was no room for us to discuss the way forward, which resulted in our decision as the minority to protest. Our intention was to have a peaceful protest to express our displeasure at the excesses of our colleagues in the majority. We acknowledge that in the process, the situation got out of hand, resulting in the outcome you commented upon. We hereby assure you that we shall, as the minority, cooperate with you in upholding the integrity and the dignity of this House. Mr. Speaker, we also want to assure you that we will undertake a deeper, and emphasis mine, a deeper consultation and commit to this with our colleagues. Suffice to state that from day one that Mr. President started ferrying his nominees to this House, we have given this government
our utmost cooperation. Mr. Speaker, record will have it that this is the first time in the history of our democracy that the minority has given the government such a cooperation to the extent that nominees are getting their confirmation in record time. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, I am on record to have made an application to this House under Order 3. This has never happened by any minority leader in the history of our democracy. We believe in constructive criticism. We are not in any way in to disrupt government business, frustrate them, or undermine them. Both parties have been in government before and have been in opposition before. We know that it is not through disruption that would win us power come 2028. It is through active, constructive politicking. Mr. Speaker, we have become aware of the consequences of orders you have issued as a result of the formal communication you have given. But this is what we have to say. And I quote from Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. Mr. Speaker, you remember the story of Shylock when he demanded his pound of flesh. A plea came from Portia, who was the supposed counsel for the debtor. Mr. Speaker, this is what he had to say, and I rely on it to mount the next line of my submission. That the quality of mercy is not strained, drop it as a gentle rain from heaven upon the earth beneath. It is twice blessed. It blessed him that gives and him that takes. Mr. Speaker, we cannot take your power through discipline from you. But we believe that when this is tempered with assurance that the way forward will be better, you will be able to reinstate our colleagues who temporarily have been denied access to this chamber and the precincts of Parliament. Ours is not to undermine your authority. After all, it is the confidence we had in you that made us by consensus to vote you into office. And we accept your authority. Mr. Speaker, we do not think that we should litigate this matter even on procedure. We are more interested in the outcome, which is not a desired outcome. Today, I, on behalf of my caucus, would want to assure the public that such an action will not be seen in the public space again. Mr. Speaker, I take full responsibility as a leader on my side on all actions that took place. I will therefore conclude by inviting you, Mr. Speaker, to, in the circumstance and with assurances given, to consider a rescission of the decision you communicated to the House, as well as all consequential matters there too. Mr. Speaker, without more, I shall thank you for hearing me and resume my seat. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I believe this statement may need your comments, and depending on how you want it to be handled, I would prefer it's handled at the leadership level and not beyond that. But this is your house, and not only my house. I am duty-bound to maintain law and order. And so I will allow the majority leader to have a say on this matter.
Mr. Speaker, the popular saying is that to err is human, to forgive is speakerly. Mr. Speaker, as you can see, I have replaced divine with speaker. That elevates you to an almost godly stature. My colleague, the minority leader, has spoken. He has recounted the happenings of Thursday and Friday. So, Speaker, it is a fact that the first time His Excellency John Dramani Mahama nominated the first time the first set of ministerial nominees were announced was on the 9th of January 2025. Today, Mr. Speaker, is the 4th of February 2025. We are not yet even 1 month into the administration of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. But, Mr. Speaker, we have vetted and approved a number of ministers, but overall, we have vetted and by the close of today would have approved 42 ministerial nominees out of 60. The reason why we are even at 42 is because since Friday, we have not yet received any additional nominations. So in effect, we have finished vetting and hope to conclude the approval of 42 nominees to ministerial appointments. As a matter of fact, all those who have been nominated to serve as the cabinet of the government have actually been vetted and some approved by this House. This is a record performance that this House should be proud of itself. And we have done so in spite of the theatrics and the drama, with the cooperation and support of our colleagues on the minority side.
If in the process there have been some incidents, they are regrettable. And so, Mr. Speaker, I will support the appeal of my colleague, the minority leader, that you temper justice with mercy. I agree that your decision to suspend some colleagues was timely, and I believe that it has been understood by the generality of Ghanaians as a step that restored the image of this parliament. And so, Mr. Speaker, I believe that your action has achieved its objectives. But as you can see, our colleagues are remorseful. Our colleagues accept your decision in good faith. And our colleagues are appealing to you to review your decision to suspend your suspension, to reconsider your decision to suspend. Mr. Speaker, it is not only members of the minority side that were suspended. In fact, the chief whip of the majority side was also suspended. So clearly, the conduct was on both sides. And I also, on behalf of my side, appeal to you to reconsider your decision and lift the suspensions so that our colleagues can join us, whilst the other measures that you are putting in place so that long term we can ensure the orderly conduct of business in this House is achieved. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I'm sure the first thing you have realized is that I've restored the title Honorable. The day I read my former communication to you and proceeded to suspend the 4 members, I never used the term honorable. I have done so now because your leaders actually came to me to plead that I temper justice with mercy. If any of you here is not remorseful, please be on your feet. Honorable member, you are not, please. Honorable member, Honourable members, it's important, it's very, very important, and I can tell you I understand and appreciate what is happening. This house is often referred to as a house of might and majesty. Might because it's a combination of the sovereignty of all the people in the country. Majesty because the king or queen is part of the house. And therefore, there can be no power higher than that of Parliament. And the person who represents Parliament is the Speaker. And so I sit here and I exercise your powers, and I create an environment for you to be able to perform your function. And I go according to the rules. You can disagree with the Speaker, and the rules and the laws of Ghana permit you to do so, and also details out the procedure on how to handle the disagreement. But the rules are very clear as to what they refer to as disorder or contempt of Parliament. And for me to preserve and uphold that might, majesty, and dignity of the House, I should not shed any responsibility in applying and enforcing the rules. And that was exactly what I did. Even though some of the members are my personal friends, I refer to as sons. So please, you can ask your leaders when they approach me with this. Yes, as a father, when your son commits an offense, you don't punish the son to the extent that you break his or her leg. That becomes a big problem for you, the father. And nobody is perfect. We are all fallible. So I listened to the apology, and here it was repeated by the minority leader for and on behalf of the members of the caucus, and supported by the majority leader. It's not only words. Before me, they demonstrated and assured me of their total support to me and the deputy speakers to ensure that we have an efficient and an effective functioning parliament in Ghana. So I am satisfied with not just the statement, but also their conduct. And I will proceed to lift the suspension of the 4 members of Parliament that I considered were involved in disorderly conduct which amounted to contempt. The rules are very clear, and I did refer to them and stated clearly that because we are in the transitional mood, we will not be able to put committees in place, including that of the Privileges and Immunities Committee. And the standing orders grant me the power and authority to do what I did. And clearly, the jurisprudence are very clear that when contempt is committed in facie curia, you don't proceed to set up another committee or court or whatever to investigate and submit a report. And so I referred to the one in Parliament. My very good honorable member, you are at liberty, even after this, to proceed anywhere. I have no problem meeting you in court, but that's where I was farming for many years before I became a member of Parliament. So I have lifted the suspension order, and I do so instantly, and it takes effect immediately. The honorable members so affected are permitted now to enter the presence of the House. I must say that they complied. They actually complied with the orders. And the standing orders are clear. And presence of Parliament is defined. And we have the men and women to enforce the law. And they actually did enforce the law. So I want to commend the members and also the law enforcement agencies, Marshal's Department, the police service, for their support. Let me once again assure the House of my commitment to upholding the dignity of this House. All of you seated here, I am responsible for upholding your rights and protecting all of you. And those who have felt the branches of the law, honorable member, when it is before me, nobody can save you. When it's outside, you can run to me, I will go and save you. And you can ask your colleagues. A lot has come before me, and I've always intervened, both sides, to protect the members and to save them. You can ask all the state agencies involved. And so it's not restricted to any side, both sides, all members. Those of you who don't know it, that's why I'm drawing your attention to it. When you get into any of those challenges and you draw the attention of the office of the Speaker intervenes. And by law, you are protected. There is a procedure we use to do that. We are not above the law, not at all. But there is a procedure because it's not you. You now represent a whole constituency, large number of men and women, children, elderly people. That is why you are made of now, not as individuals. And the rights of all that group cannot be taken for granted. So please, we do so without fear or favor. But let me say that I have read some media reports that some members of the House have referred to me as headmaster. Treating honorable members like students. I reject that assertion. But I can assure you that when there are students, there must be a headmaster. If you don't have a headmaster, you know what is going to happen in the school. The former Minister of Education is nodding his head. But I'll end by saying this, which is better captured in Latin. It says, qui multum datum. It's very simple. To whom much is given, much is expected. And so, you are not called honorable for nothing. They expect so much from you. And don't forget that there's life after Parliament. With this, I want to thank all of you for your attention. And I promise you, the investigations will continue. The report will be brought to the House. The House will have an opportunity to take a decision. That is the procedure outlined by our rules, by our practice, and by custom and convention of the House. That will be done. Honorable members, self-regulation is better than external regulation. And so, please, this matter should be handled by the special committee at the committee level and report to us. I've told the leaders to make themselves available to the committee and to state exactly what happened, because we want nothing but facts, nothing but the truth, so that we can apply the rules correctly. I urge the committee not to make it a matter of public debate. What you know here is not known by the public. What you do here is also not known by the public. And so when you rush to the public, one word can confuse the whole country. But that word will be understood differently in this House. We still have a lot of work to do with our partners outside this House. A matter of education, a matter of advocacy, and we'll focus on it. So I thank you all, and please, let's continue to work together as a family. Thank you so much. I'm just being informed that the leaders want to say a word or two. And so, once again, Minority Leader, you can start.
Mr. Speaker, I convey the gratitude of the Minority Caucus on your final decision in these matters. We reiterates our continuous cooperation and believe that the gesture thus far shown by you and that of my respected senior colleague and senior at the bar who leads the house, we will make things better, and that we would have a big stomach to accommodate ourselves, especially we sitting to your left, the minority. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, today I'm taking lessons in humility. My brother and colleague, the minority leader, is teaching me how to be humble. Mr. Speaker, we thank you very much for your magnanimity and considering our appeals and lifting the suspension on our colleagues. We want to assure you that we will be of good behavior going forward, and your appointments committee, I believe, will function in a better atmosphere. So, Speaker, there are a few other things that I will bring to your attention. In a statement, he drew attention to the organization of the security around where the appointments committee sits. He also drew attention to the corridor and how members of the appointments committee feel uncomfortable about the numbers that show up at the sitting of the appointments committee, and how sometimes it can get congested and the pressures exerted by nominees. And then also some of the challenges. I think the part of the challenge was the fact that on the Wednesday when they were supposed to sit, due to a decision to hear some contempt matters before them, they shifted a few more nominees to the day after, and so there was a lot of pressure on the Thursday, and that affected the crowds that showed up and the urge to try and approve and vet as many nominees as possible. So, Mr. Speaker, these are all matters that I will take up with my colleague and the chairman of the appointments committee. But in the meantime, we thank you for your decision to set aside the suspension of our colleagues. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, let me also on your behalf thank our leaders for leading us to solve this problem. I was going to make a very lengthy statement on the other incidents affecting the clerk to the committee. In view of what has happened, I will summarize it. I won't go through the whole hog. I did indicate this to the leaders, and in fact, I read through it to them, and I think that it's important. I draw the attention of members to the salient points, and particularly our partners, the public, to what is expected of all of us when we are dealing with the staff. This is the law, it's in the Constitution, it's in the Acts, and it's in our standing orders. Once again, I make this statement to address conduct of some members of the Appointments Committee at a recent committee meeting and on various media space in the country. You will recall the incident that we just referred to in what the majority leader referred to as an application for bail, and how it's usually submitted by counsels before a court. After my statement that day, that was Friday, my attention was drawn to this incident. And as the Speaker of the House and Chairman of the Parliamentary Service Board, I strongly condemn that incident. The clerk to the Appointments Committee is a public servant and should not be dragged into the failure of the members of the committee to resolve their differences. This clerk has worked with us for 19 good years, and she is one of the best clerks that we have had. Please, you can check from former members of parliament, and she's been at that committee for some time now, not just now. As clearly stated in the standing orders of Parliament, a clerk to a committee is the administrative head of the Secretariat of the committee and is the procedural and technical advisor to the chair and the committee. By the provisions of Order 2663 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, a committee to which a business has been referred shall meet to consider the business on the day and the hour determined by the chairperson of the committee with respect to that business. That is Order 2663 of our standing orders. It is thus the duty of the clerk to the committee to transmit the notice of the meeting in accordance with the instructions of the chair and the provisions of Order 2701B. Therefore, any displeasure by a member on the date, hour, or business for consideration at a committee ought to properly be directed at the chair and not the clerk to the committee, who is duty-bound under the said order to transmit notices and to organize the meeting. The standing orders of the House are very clear. Clerks to committees do not convene meetings. Chairs of committees do. A clerk to a committee transmits notice of a meeting that has been called by a chair suo motu or acting on the request of 15% of members of the committee. I refer to the orders 2663 and 271B. The clerk thus works to the chair as the clerk to Parliament works to the Speaker. The clerk to a committee is the principal advisor to the committee, just as the clerk to Parliament is the principal advisor to the Speaker. Even if the clerk had erred, subjecting her to public ridicule and humiliation, where she had no opportunity to respond, was entirely inappropriate. Where an error is alleged to have occurred, we must be civil and careful in drawing the attention of the appropriate authorities to it, and not fall for the temptation to drag the name of an officer into disrepute. While I advise members to use only the laid down hierarchy and procedures to resolve any grievance that may arise in relation to an officer or a department of the service, I also call on the chairs of the committees to, as a matter of urgency, ensure a strict adherence to the standing orders of Parliament and to maintain law and order at committee meetings. Honourable members, in spite of your numbers, you are not to oppress the minority. I don't know how many of you are old enough to collect the boxer called Sule Shitu. You are old enough to recollect Sule Shitu. He was a very brilliant boxer, very slippery, but he was what? Featherweight. Very light, nimble-footed, and he thought he was strong. One blow of middleweight, he flew so far that he never woke up, and that was the end of his boxing. I don't want anybody to commit suicide, so we leave it at that. For me, I will continue to perform my role. Don't worry at all. Honorable members, I do this because the Parliamentary Service Act mandates me to do so. The Speaker is the person endowed with the ultimate responsibility for the administration, organization, and control of employees within the service. So it's my responsibility, and I will not share that responsibility. It's as a result of that I led the Parliamentary Service Board to put structures and systems in place to assure all staff of the Parliamentary Service of a robust support in the discharge of their duties to Parliament and members of Parliament. And this is to ensure that we have a very efficient and effective Parliament that is responsive to the needs of the people we represent. With this, I thank all of you for your attention. We have other statements to make. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, crave your indulgence to vary the order of business so that we can commence public business. Mr. Speaker, I want us to take the report of the Appointments Committee on His Excellency's ministerial nominees. But we need to vary the order of business to achieve that. with your indulgence and that of the House, if we may vary the order of business.
Let me hear from your colleague minority leader first. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, this is a big surprise to me. A moment ago, the chair of the committee and I engaged on the draft report which has been sent to me to have my input. I'm not aware of any report that the chair and my good self have agreed for same to be laid and distributed. We have not discussed that. The chair is here. I do not know whether he has signed any report. So maybe the respected leader of the House may give us further information on his application. Thank you, sir.
Chairman of the Appointments
Right,
Committee.
Honorable Speaker, the draft report has been given to us since Friday. Right, Honorable Speaker, this morning I reached out to the minority leader regarding his concerns about the report. Right, Honorable Speaker, the concerns raised was that one of the nominees promised to bring some documents. The Right Honorable Speaker, the document has since been delivered. Right Honorable Speaker, based on the delivery of the document, I have proceeded to sign the report in the absence of any other information from the minority leader. So, Right Honorable Speaker,
Did you make the documents available to the minority leader?
Yes.
He has copies.
Yes.
Minority leader, is that the case?
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, please.
Mr. Speaker, we can only make progress if we act in good faith. I shall repeat my side. Me as a leader would not obstruct government business. Never. I've been in government before. I know how difficult it is to run a government. I've been a leader, and I know. But the only pathway to success is to act in good faith. Mr. Speaker, since the chair has spoken for the records and for Hansel, let me respond to him appropriately to the best of my knowledge. Mr. Speaker, yesterday night, and because of the happenings, the person who received the document signed, the draft report got to my office, it was signed. I invited our clerk, and I have my text messages as evidence. I invited her to come so that together we can sit and discuss the issues. Mr. Speaker, may the backbenchers and the young ones in appreciate the spirit of the House this afternoon. It is government business. If you think you can be making noise, your government business will delay. Whilst you await your nomination, make the noise for recognition. That is why you've not been nominated yet. Those who don't make noise have been nominated. Mr. Speaker, those who don't make noise have been nominated.
Honorable Majority Leader, address me.
Well, Mr. Speaker, yes. Mr. Speaker, yes. That is your role, to make noise. Go ahead. Mr. Speaker, I invited the clerk to come for us this morning. Unfortunately, I received a call from another officer that the clerk was unable to come because she has to meet with you. So another officer came, called Madam Ekua Drua. I know her in this house. She came with another gentleman, and we went through, because I have records of all the documents that the nominees had indicated they were going to provide to us. So we went through. One nominee has provided some of the documents. The rest are yet to. So we went through the records and they took note that they were going to follow up. The other nominee has not provided a single document that he himself promised to provide to us. So I even suggested to them that in view of that, we can take those nominees who don't have any issue at all, so that those we are waiting the documentation, when those documents come, we'll deal with it. Just on the corridors, they assured me that they were chasing for those documents. My respected colleague engaged me and indicated that whilst we wait for those documents, we could proceed. I told him that I do not have any problem with assurance that those documents will come, because these are nominees who are spoken on record that they were going to provide the document. It's been days after the vetting. If they said they had it, why are they not bringing those documents? So, Mr. Speaker, for my respected colleague, the chair of the committee, to spring a surprise, these are some of the frustrations we go through. And Mr. Speaker, I speak on my 5 points of fellowship. I am not acting in bad faith. In all truthfulness, I am not aware that the report has been signed. And we all know that before the chair signs, the clerk will sign. If indeed the engagement with me this morning, where we agreed that they were going to get those documents, is any engagement to go by, then how would it be that the clerk would sign with a check, knowing that they brought me a draft report? Mr. Speaker, I would want to plead with my colleagues. Let us spend more time to Jojo. I will not frustrate you. It is your government. You must form the government. Mr. Speaker, I can only constructively criticize you after you form your government. I do not have any business holding you back. I want that to be on record. But the approach, Mr. Speaker, is not the best. The approach is not the best. If he still wants to proceed, Mr. Speaker, in spite of all I have said, I would not mind. Of the nominees, we have only two issues. We are voting, we are taking you through a secret ballot on two nominees, and I've indicated to you the Honorable Sam George and Honorable Ablakwa. All the others, can I finish? Can I finish? All the others, by consensus, we don't have a problem. However, those documents that they promised bringing to us must be available. That is the only condition. I don't have any other problem.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, our standing orders are very clear. Order 285 deals with reporting. Mr. Speaker, the chairperson or a member of the committee is authorized to present the reports of the committees to this House. Mr. Speaker, there is a report signed by the chairperson of the committee, and we are seeking to have that laid so that we can take it today. Mr. Speaker, I am aware of the matters that are being discussed. And in fact, and in truth, the minority leader has discussed those matters with me. He has indicated that he has no objection to the reports except that during the vetting, 2 nominees promised to present certain documents to the committee, and he has not seen those documents. Subsequently, he confirmed that 1 has brought some documents, and he has no problem with the one who has brought the documents, but that 1 of them has not brought the relevant document that he requested for. I had a response for him also. I told him that in my opinion, the document that he is asking for cannot stand between us and approving that nominee. That document, in my opinion, cannot stand between us and approving the nominee. And in any case, Mr. Speaker, when the committee met, at the close of the sitting of the committee took a decision on all the nominees. The committee did not say that they were suspending decision on any particular nominee pending that nominee submitting any document. And the decisions were taken before the full glare of Ghanaians. On television, the media were present and they captured the moment when the decisions were taken on each and every one of the nominees. And no decision was conditional. Mr. Speaker, it is true that the minority at that time had left the sitting of the committee because, in their opinion, your directives on Friday, they misunderstood to me that the appointments committee should cease to exist. And therefore, since you had decided that the appointments committee should cease to exist, they were not going to participate in an illegality. And so they walked out. I tried to explain to them that I was in this chamber when you communicated to this House, and you did not say that the appointment committee should cease to exist, and therefore you were calling for an urgent meeting to reconstitute the appointments committee. They persisted in their understanding of what you were purported to have done, and they left the sitting of the appointments committee. The committee continued working, and the committee considered all nominees. And at the end of the consideration of all nominees, the committee decided to put the question on each and every one of the nominees before the cameras. Normally we do it in camera, but on this occasion, in order to be very transparent and accountable, the chairman of the committee decided to put the question before the journalists, and the journalists captured the entire exercise. And no nominee had his or her approval subjected to the provision of any document. So if after you have left the committee And the committee has already taken a decision to approve all of them by consensus. You will come and say that you don't agree and they must submit some documents. I will not accept that. So you can come to the chamber and you can say whatever you want to say. But I am standing my grounds, and every single one of those nominees will be approved by consensus in this chamber. I communicated that to my brother on the other side. So we agreed that he should come and say whatever he will say, and I will have my say. So, Mr. Speaker, we are going to take the report, Mr. Speaker, subject to you granting us leave to vary the order of business, and he can debate the report, but the reports say that the committee approved them by consensus. So no two members, no two nominees are going to be taken out of the report. Mr. Speaker, that is what I can say about the reports.
Honorable members, I have been given a copy of the report. The recommendation on two of them says majority decision on two. The others is consensus. That's the report they gave me. In the case of two of them, the names he mentioned, the report says the committee recommends to the House by majority decision the approval of the nomination, and then the name follows. And that is in connection with Honorable Samuel Nartey George and Honorable Samuel Ablakwa Okujato. So those are majority decisions, but the others are consensus. That's what we have. I have a wrong report.
Right, Honorable Speaker. The report under reference is the 10th report. And the 10th report is on Honorable Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, Honorable Ibrahim Muntala Mohammed, Honorable Samuel Nartey George, Honorable Kofi Idi Adams, and Honorable Joseph Bukari Nipe. So, right, Honorable Speaker, in respect of the 10th report, which we have to lay, it has nothing to do with Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa. And right, Honorable Speaker, the minority leader said we should act in good faith. Right, Honorable Speaker, in these circumstances, whatever document that we demanded from Okujeto or from Sam George, some documents has been brought to us. And indeed, the minority leader has a copy of the document as well as the report. Right, Honorable Speaker, the confusion is that the 11th report will be covering Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa. In relation to Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa, some documents were outstanding that the committee would have to be furnished. So, minority leader is confusing the 11th report with the 10th report. So, regarding the 10th report, he has a copy of the report and he has a copy of the documents brought by Honorable Sam George. So, it's completely different from the 11th report. So, the issues relating to the 10th report will not be the same as issues relating to the 11th report. So, to say that we need to act in good faith Mr. Speaker, in relation to the 10th report, it is not fair to the chairman of the committee, Right Honorable Speaker. 10th report is what we are supposed to lay. And if you look at the other paper said presentation of the 10th report, not the 11th report.
Chair, I have been given a copy of the 10th report. January 2025, APP/9/1/1/010. Now, read page 22. You see the recommendation on Honorable Abdul Rashid H. Pelpu. Read page 42. You see the recommendation on Honorable Samuel Nate George. Have you seen that? What does it say?
Speaker, I am not speaking with respect of the decision of the committee, the recommendation of the committee. I'm speaking with reference to the fact that Minority Leader is saying, acting in good faith, he has not seen a copy of the report.
I've gone past that.
Then I am saying that he is confusing the 10th and the 11th report.
Chair,
Yes.
Chair, I understand that point.
Very well. Very well.
I was addressing the issue that the Majority Leader raised.
Yes.
Because the Majority Leader's understanding
Yes.
is that they are all by consensus.
Yes. So,
And I'm saying, Chairman, I'm saying that the report I have, that one is not by consensus. It's majority decision. That's what is in the report. Now, my attention was being drawn to another copy of the 10th report. And so when he brought it, we had to compare notes. And we saw that even what he brought, at the same page 42, the recommendation is majority decision. Now, at the last page, which is page 79, you have the committee therefore recommends to the House by consensus the adoption of its report and the approval of the nominations of, and the number there is only 5. But in that, you have number 3, where you put the Honorable Samuel Nate George as Minister for Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations. But in the body of the report, it says majority decision. That is what I'm drawing your attention to. And both are signed by the clerk to the committee and you, the First Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the committee. Yes, please.
Right Honorable Speaker, the decision of the committee, per the report that I am holding, the minority has reached out to us that Honorable Sam Nate George would be a majority decision. The rest of the nominees are by consensus.
Exactly what I said.
That is so, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Yes.
But
So,
at the last page,
yes.
at the last page,
Yes.
when you talked about the consensus,
Yes.
you included the name of Honorable Samuel George Nati, which
Right,
meant that
Honorable
one to be
Speaker.
by consensus.
Yes. Right,
I
Honorable
don't know,
Speaker.
honorable members, are you following? You have copies of the report. That is the conflict in the report. Yes, please.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I would be able to do that correction in presenting the reports of the committee.
Honorable members, I will allow the chair of the committee to present the report and do the writing as we always do by correcting the contradiction.
That is so.
Yes, Let me listen to a minority leader, then I'll come to you, majority leader. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, limiting ourselves to even the 10th report. This is the very problem that I've been raising from day one. When the clerks reached out to me this morning, and we had a meeting this morning on the draft, the understanding reached was that they will engage our respected colleague, Sam George, to bring the rest of the document to enable us finalize the report. That is the 10th report. Mr. Speaker, here is a situation that without reaching out to me again, we have our clerk co-signing the report with the chair. Mr. Speaker, let the record reflect that per the practice of this House, leaders of committees would always have to sign off before a committee report is finalized and brought to this chamber. It is only when the one side has given a firm indication of its intent that the issue of a minority report would arise. Mr. Speaker, this is not the case, and this is where I would want to reserve my comment on the actions of our secretariat in private. I wouldn't speak about the actions of the secretariat anymore in public. But Mr. Speaker, I am happy that the clerk to Parliament is in this chamber and is hearing. It is a bit a challenge what is happening. Mr. Speaker, I beg to say that until all the information that the nominee himself has committed to providing are provided, until all those documents are provided, we cannot finalize a report. I have therefore no hesitation at all in saying that for Honorable Abdul Rashid Hassan Purple, Honorable Ibrahim Mutala Muhammad, Honorable Kofi Idi Adams, and Honorable Joseph Bukari Nikpe, we can take them because this is by consensus. We shouldn't allow one person's issue to stand in the way of other nominees we don't have a problem with. And in fact, let me publicly state this. If our respected colleague brings the outstanding documents and these documents are satisfactory, we have no hesitation changing our position. We've done that in the case of Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua. We took a decision to take him through a vote. The issue that we had with him, we resolved it. The majority leader, my good self, and the chair, we resolved it. And upon resolution, we amended the record right here on the floor of the House. Nobody should create the impression that someone is in to frustrate somebody's political appointment. No. But, Mr. Speaker, the very things that our colleagues demanded when they were in opposition are the very things that we are demanding from them. So they should take it easy and engage us the more rather than the confrontation. The confrontation will not work. Confrontation will not work. We have a 4-year journey. This is just the 3rd week. So they should take it easy with us. It's not the intimidation and the attack, the social media that will get me, Kwamena, to be cowed. It will not work. I have seen all this before. So, but I want to do the work in a manner that you as colleagues will know that I respect you. I will not disrespect any nominee. After all, you are going to be our minister. But please, let the right thing be done in the interest of the nation. Mr. Speaker, that is all I demand.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader. Please, Honorable Members, your standing orders are clear as to the preparation of report of committees. Is Standing Order 283. 283 and 2831 says members of a committee, including the chairperson, may present reports for consideration of the committee, and the report shall be recorded in the minutes of proceedings of the committee. 2. The chairperson shall propose for consideration the reports in the order of receipt until one of the reports is accepted as a basis for discussion, beginning with the report of the chairperson. 3. The question to be proposed by the chairperson on any report shall be, and I quote, that the report brought up by honorable member for so and so be read a second time, paragraph by paragraph, unquote. 4. When the question has been agreed to, a question shall not be proposed on any other report, but portions of other reports may be offered as amendments to the report under consideration where they are relevant to the agreed report. And 5, on the conclusion of the consideration of the report, the chairperson shall put the question, and quote, that this report be the report from the committee to the House, unquote. This is the procedure you go through. At all committees, this is the procedure you go through. So at the end of the day, the report is the report of the committee. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, that order governs the process of generating reports. Mr. Speaker, my colleague on the other side knows that we have never really complied with that mechanism. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, you know, it is new. It is new, and we are yet to begin to warm up to that process. But Mr. Speaker, I have heard my colleague on the other side, and I just note that this report has some inconsistency, because you have the main body of the report on one of the nominees saying that it is by majority decision, and then in the concluding portion of the report indicating that it is by consensus. So there's a problem with the report. So, Mr. Speaker, I will ask for a short suspension of sitting for me to engage with my colleague on the other side, so that we will correct the reports. We will correct the reports and build consensus, and come back to this House, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, there is an application before the House for us to take a suspension. For how long? 10 minutes? 1 hour?
1 hour, Mr. Speaker, 1 hour.
1 hour. You need a whole hour to discuss this simple Honorable members,
1 hour is okay, Mr. Speaker.
I proceed to suspend sitting. Minority Leader. Yes, you say your position is.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of government business has made an application. Who am I to oppose him? I'm not opposed to his application. So, Mr. Speaker, grant the application as prayed. You grant it as prayed.
Honorable members, the sitting of the House is suspended for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 30 minutes.
Right, so this is Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible, and you've been watching live proceedings from Parliament. Key issues, some decisions taken on the floor. The Speaker of Parliament first allowed a statement by the Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, same statement also by the Majority Leader Mahama Yariga on the disturbances that took place during the vetting of nominees for ministerial positions last week. That led to the suspension of 4 members of Parliament. Both leaders pleaded with the Speaker to allow the suspended MPs to continue with their work whilst the investigation team that is about to start work on this matter, get underway. Now, the Speaker, after listening to the pleas from the Minority and Majority Leader, lifted the suspension of the 4 members of Parliament. The Member of Parliament for Nsawam Aduadjuri, Frank Anadom-Preh, the Majority Chief Whip, Rosin Nelson Dafiamekpo, Jerry Ahmed, and of course, Al-Hassan Tampoli. So these individuals, they were suspended by the Speaker of Parliament last week. They are now allowed to take their seat on the floor of Parliament. Meanwhile, the 7-member committee that was set up by the Speaker to investigate the circumstances surrounding the disturbances we witnessed in Parliament, especially at the appointment committee, will start its work tomorrow. And then when that committee is done, they will present their report to the Speaker. And if there is to be any sanction, the Speaker will communicate that to the nation. The Speaker also took advantage of what is happening in Parliament now and condemned what he described as an unwarranted attack on the clerk to the Appointments Committee of Parliament. The Speaker described the clerk as one of the best in the House. According to the Speaker, the clerk has served Parliament for 19 years, and for that reason, the attack on her publicly by the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, was unwarranted and condemned it. Now, this House is on suspension because both sides seem not to come to an agreement on the reports of the Appointment Committee, recommending the House to approve the nomination of some individuals that appeared before it. Notably among them is the Minister-designate for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, and the Minister-designate for Communication, Samuel George. Now, according to the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, they have concerns with the nomination of Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa and Sam George, and for that reason, they will put the approval through the parliamentary process, that is, a voice vote. If it's not clear, it will go to head count. If that's not clear, then they will demand a secret ballot on the two nominees. The rest of the nominees, they have no issues with them. There was some kind of a back and forth regarding that particular report because the majority side insists that at the conclusion of the report at the committee level, there was consensus on all the nominees, and for that reason, there shouldn't be a platform for those two to be taken through voting to determine their approval or not by the House. They didn't come to a decision or a compromise on this matter. The reason why the majority leader asked the Speaker to allow the House to go on recess for an hour. The Speaker has allowed 30 minutes for them to correct some defects in the report and come back to the House for a debate and subsequent approval or otherwise of the nominees. Two key nominees, Communication, Sam George, and of course, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa for Foreign Affairs. These nominees, the minority side insists that they will have to take them through voting because they are against them being approved by the House to assume their roles as ministers of state. We'll wait and see how this will unfold when the House is back pretty shortly in the House for them to debate the report of the Appointments Committee. But again, let me reiterate that at the conclusion of the sitting, at least the first part, the Speaker has allowed the 4 suspended MPs to take their seats in the chamber. The 4 were suspended for their roles in the disturbance that ensued during the vetting of some ministers nominated by President John Mahama. The 4 are the Chief Whip on the majority side, Roxanne Ndafiamepo, the minority Chief Whip, Frank Anadumpré, the Member of Parliament for Gbawe, Jerry Ahmed, and of course, Al-Hassan Tampoli. So we'll wait for the House to come back to continue with the deliberation on the Appointments Committee report on the nominees. But let's understand what really is going on here. And let me bring in Dr. Rashid Rahman. He's a parliamentary watcher, and he understands this space very well. Dr. Rahman, Happy New Year and welcome. Doctor, if you can unmute for me.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Elton. How are you doing?
I'm great, and it's always good to see you. You have been following events in Parliament from last week, the subsequent decisions taken by the Speaker of Parliament. Now, leaders from both sides made an appeal to the Speaker. The Speaker agreed, and so the suspended MPs are now back on the floor to do the business on behalf of their constituents. Is this something that you welcome?
Yes, indeed. I think that's welcome news because at the end of the day, Elton, our leaders are elected to sit down and talk. You know, when there are difficult moments, I think those are moments when they have to show leadership. And those are moments when they have to come together to try and see more of what unites them than what divides them. You can fight and fight and fight, but in the end, it's only dialogue that can bring you back together. And so I commend the leaders, and then I commend the Right Honourable Speaker for at least listening to the appeal of the leaders. But beyond this, I hope, we don't see a repeat of some of these things because, we saw that on the first day of the 8th Parliament, We saw this happening again during this vetting. We don't know what is coming next. So I hope that both sides have learned some lessons and that at least the Right Honorable Speaker has sent a clear message. I mean, this is not going to be tolerated, and he will be very quick to crack the whip when it needs to be done.
But Doctor, I mean, some are arguing that, I mean, in view of what is happening now, perhaps the Speaker's earlier decision on the 4 MPs was premature, knowing very well that he has set in motion a committee to investigate a matter, and by suspending them, he may have passed judgment on them already. Well, we are not getting clear connection to Dr. Rashid Omah. He's far away from Ghana. We'll see if we can reconnect with him and bring his perspective on this very important subject matter as we try and establish a connection to Dr. Rashid Drama. I'll also be taking you back to Parliament for the continuation when the House is back. When the House is back to debate the report of the Appointments Committee. But again, if you are just joining us, this is a pause here on Joy News. The breaking story is that, remember, some 4 MPs were suspended by the Speaker of Parliament for their roles in the disturbance that ensued during the vetting of some ministers nominated by President Akufo-Addo. The latest on this story is that the Speaker has lifted the suspension on them, and so Roxanne Nelson Dafia-Mepo, Frank Anadomtre, Alhassan Tampoli, and of course Jerry Ahmed are back in the chamber to do their business. The Speaker also condemned the attack on the clerk to the Appointments Committee, describing it as unfortunate. We'll take a short break here on the point. When we return, we'll deal with some other stories. You're welcome back. This is a pause, and this afternoon, the other story following for you is it relates to education. The Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, has announced plans to transition teacher training allowances into an enhanced students' loan scheme to allow students to cater for their own feeding and personal expenses. The minister explained that whilst the allowances would be maintained in the interim, government intended to phase the allowances system out gradually.
But more importantly, you raise the issue of student allowances. It will continue. Subsequent to the Education Forum, for which I have the pleasure to invite you to come, we'll take some major decisions based on the recommendations. But off-head, there is no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level off-head. So we have to work out a transition from the allowance into an enhanced student loan for them to feed themselves. But in the interim, they will still get the allowances. Then just the next very few months going forward, subject to the recommendations of the committee. But I cannot conceive of a student in a higher education institution being fed. We can narrow feeding to basic and to free senior high school, but at the tertiary level, so they will still get enhanced student loans to be able to feed themselves. But in the interim, we will continue with the feeding and then phase out the allowance process, subject to the recommendations of the Education Forum. So we would do that.
So let's break it down. And how much government spends annually on teacher trainees, allowances, and the potential impact of transitioning these allowances into students' loan. And we put this together to illustrate the point more forcefully. So there are already 46 colleges of education in the country accredited by the Ministry of Education to run various programs for teacher trainees across the country, 46 in the 16 regions of the country. And of course, the total number of teacher trainees, this according to the Ministry of Education, as we speak now, stands at 69,704. That's 69,704 across the country in the 46 teacher trainee schools. So this is the breakdown. So when in 2021, budgetary allocation for teacher training allowances. So in 2021, government, this is how much government committed to it, $169 million. It rose to 185 in 2022, went up to 241 million in 2023, And as at the end of 2024, the figure stood at 246 million Ghana cedis. And of course, so you heard the minister makes the point on this particular matter. I mean, he says there's no way you should feed a student at the tertiary level. And he's made a point on what government intends to do with the teacher training allowance and the future of it in the video clip that we brought to you earlier on. So let's get some understanding and reaction to this matter. It's a good time to bring in the direct beneficiaries of the allowances, the teacher training themselves. And joining us from Tamale is the president of the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana, Swale Razak. Swale, you're welcome. You've heard the Minister of Education. What is your reaction to that? Right, so Swale, you are joining us on Zoom. If you can unmute for us so we can hear you. The Minister of Education has spoken about the future of the teacher training allowance. What is your reaction to this? Swale, if we can get your attention so we can wrap this up. Or we'll bring him on when we have him so that we can get some understanding of what this matter is about. But the Education Minister's point is clear regarding government intention with the teacher training allowances, that they want to enhance it and make it more, user-friendly, if you like, and out of the 46 that we have. As we also wait to take you back to Parliament for the continuation of the debate on the ministers nominated by President Kufuor. They've gone through vetting. The minority MPP say they have issues with Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who is nominated for the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and of course, Sam George, Member of Parliament for Pram Pram, for the Communications Ministry. The House is on recess to allow the leaders and the members of the committee to iron out some differences they have with the committee's report, and then the plenary will take a decision on it. But clearly, we are likely to see a vote, either by a head count or secret ballot, for two nominees: Foreign Affairs Minister Designate Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and of course, Sam George for Communication. Let's do some education stories more, and because pressure is mounting on WAEC to release the withheld results of over 10,000 students as NUCS demands urgent action. WAEC has filed a stay of execution at Accra High Court on Thursday, January 30, against an order directing the release of the withheld papers. At a press briefing, NUCS President Daniel Kole Boche warned that if WAEC fails to comply within the given time frame, the union would take legal action and stage a protest.
NUCS wrote first on the 2nd of January. We followed up with an engagement with WAEC, and we met their top senior officers, including the head of their legal, head of corporate affairs, head of malpractice, at WAEC head of Ghana office. And that engagement took place on the 10th of January, Friday. And we did deliberations over there. We followed up by forwarding the whole issue to our legal team. And our legal team has reviewed and advised us to prepare ourselves to proceed to court. And we are preparing to take legal action on behalf of these students. And it is for that reason we opened a formal petition process for the affected students to come out, because it is these very affected students who has the locus to sue. And so we are going to provide legal representation for the affected students to take the West African Examination Council to court. Now, these are our demands. NUCS is demanding the following: that all withheld results must be released within 1 week to allow students to meet university admission deadlines. The reversal of cancellation of entire results. Cancellation should be limited to only particular subject results that the malpractice took place. a fair hearing for all accused candidates before any disciplinary action is taken. An end to the unfair practice of cancelling entire results for infractions related to single subject results. An establishment of a transparent and accessible appeal process for students who wish to challenge WAEC's decisions. A commitment to releasing completed results instead of withholding some under questionable circumstances which disadvantage students. Our next course of action. If WAEC fails to meet our demands within the given time frames, NUCS will mobilize all Ghanaian students for a nationwide protest to press home our demands. And if I say all Ghanaian students, we are not talking about only the affected students. The National Union of Ghana Students is the mother union of all Ghanaian students from preschool to PhD. And we are going to mobilize all Ghanaian students, including tertiary students, second cycle students, primary students, to press home our demands, because these vulnerable students may not be able to speak for themselves, but we who represent them can mobilize the students of Ghana to occupy the offices of WAEC nationwide. And we are going to make sure that we are going to press home our demands until the right thing is done. Additionally, we will call for the removal of the head of Ghana office, WAEC, if reforms are not initiated to address these deep-seated injustices. WAEC must understand that it is accountable to the people of Ghana, and the continued abuse of its discretionary powers will no longer be tolerated. In conclusion, education is a fundamental right, and WAEC must uphold justice, transparency, and accountability. The credibility of WAEC is at stake if students and the general public lose confidence in its fairness. We demand immediate reforms and to address these injustices. If WAEC fails to act, NUCS will escalate the matter through legal and advocacy channels, including seeking judicial intervention. We urge all students to remain calm but resolute in demanding our rights. NUCS stands with every student affected by WAEC's actions.
Right, so this is the pause here on Join. We'll take a short break and come back with more on the show. All right, so that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. We will take you back to Parliament when the House is in session to consider the report of the Appointments Committee on whether or not Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa and Sam George will have their day on the floor. That is coming up pretty soon on Joy News. Until then, whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. Stories on myjoyonline.com. I will take full responsibility for vetting chaos. Afenyomal can plead with Speaker. There's also, I reject the assertion that I am a headmaster treating MPs like students. That's Speaker of Parliament. There's also government commence review of growth for oil policy over fears of possible fuel shortage. You want to go on my Joy Online and read more on these issues. Remember, we will be taking you live to Parliament. So stay tuned in to Joy News for more. Until then, my name is Elton Bobby. Same time tomorrow, we're here with another exciting edition of The Pulse. Good evening.